welcome. Quote Me on That podcast is an initiative of Quote This Woman Plus. Quote This Woman Plus, also referred to as QW Plus, is a gender justice organization that links women plus experts to the media. Quote Me on That introduces our women plus experts to the world. Welcome. In today's episode, we speak to Kashiefa Achmat, housing activist, community organizer with the Housing Assembly, and a Quote This Woman Plus Voices Fellow. For decades, Kashiefa has fought alongside communities for dignified housing, land access, and social justice. In this conversation, she'll share what keeps her rooted in collective action, the struggles communities face every day, and how voice, especially those of Women Plus, is a form of power. Welcome, Kashiefa.
Thanks, Renee.
Awesome. I'm going to just jump right into it. And we obviously want to know your backstory. So where did all of this begin?
Well, my activism started at a very late age. And I think it started when I started my work at Pick n Pay. And I was about 19 years old. I had very strict parents, so they weren't into politics.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was a very obedient child. Working in the retail sector, you encounter a lot of unfairness and discrimination and all those things.
Yeah.
So some of our shop stewards, I belong to the cow union in Pick n Pay, but some of them were dismissed and some left. And there was a void in that field of shop stewardness in our workplace. And then I thought, hey, I can't sit back because when it comes smiling and laughing, I never challenge things like that. But once you go into a space where you encounter all these things change. And that is where I saw that I need to speak up and I need to do something because I can't keep quiet when my fellow comrades are being ill-treated and we get the front treatment in the workplace. And that is all it started. And I think I was thrown in the deep end. And when you're thrown in the deep end, you have to swim to survive.
Yeah.
And I think what I did was I just went to workshops, COSATU's workshops. They had every month programs that we attended. I didn't care if I didn't get paid as long as I know I equipped myself. And that is where it all started. And after that, there was no turning back because I could see the difference I made in the workplace.
Yeah. No, thank you very much for sharing. But what was that personal moment or issue that made you say that this is the fight I need to be in terms of housing and land?
In the workplace, when we go for negotiations, it will always be about wages.
Yeah.
And I know I didn't even have a house that I can call my own. And I always thought, why is housing also a secondary issue on the agenda? And that was always a secondary issue and thrown off the agenda also.
Yeah.
And I think it started there where I questioned also, but nothing has happened because when it comes to women, your voices are not really being heard within these union spaces also. But then I ended up also through Michael Lowe, I got in contact also with Michael Blake at Ilrich, and they had political schools, and I attended that. And also through that, what Ilrich and Michael Blake, we ended up also, I was introduced to Housing Assembly, and that is also where we started visiting communities, and that is what I loved. I love that connection, doing that door to door. And I thought, you know what? I never turned back. I still worked at Pick n Pay, but I also attended those meetings also. And I loved just going into communities because my heart was at the right place because I knew that is the thing that I wanted to do. But you know what? We didn't have a lot of education on housing and how it affects our community. And I think even having a job doesn't mean it guarantees you a house.
No, absolutely.
Because you will struggle, you will stay in a backyard forever. And that wages won't give you the time and opportunity to go to the bank to qualify. I couldn't even qualify for 50,000 at that
Mhm.
time. So
Yeah,
I had to bring my husband in, and still we didn't qualify. So I had to take a loan out for 36,000. So it doesn't guarantee you when you work a
yeah,
house from the bank.
yeah, sure. So, can you share, because you just spoke now about your passion for community, right, and the door to door, can you share examples of how community organizing, particularly through housing assembly, has led to some action or even resistance? Any of those stories?
Yeah. So doing the housing visit door to door once you start speaking to communities, what I learned when I did that. You need to be dressed as a normal person
Yeah,
that is working in communities. You can't go with high heels and fancy
yeah,
because people don't speak to you when you look like that.
mm, yeah,
So what I've learned is that you need to be very grounded and you need to engage directly. When you speak to people, you don't speak down to people. You speak to people in a way that you are hearing them and they are hearing you. And that respect that you must have for people when you go to communities. And when you speak to things that, even when you enter, you will see the house. You don't go there to look at people's house, but
mhm,
it tells a big story.
yeah,
You will sometimes get the smell of pee, you get the smell of, you know how it is
mm,
sometimes. And you don't be judgmental, you
mm,
know. You overlook those things because, you go into a house where this family is going through a lot. And you go and you engage with this person because you're going to speak about the housing issue.
yeah,
And when you have that behavior going into people's house, you know what? People will take you everywhere. Everybody will know you at the end of the day. And
mm,
you don't even have to do much to organize communities because if you're a grounded person and you speak with respect to people, everybody will know you. Even the children will know you when you come
yeah.
into communities. And I think also that is how you start organizing because you need to treat people with respect when you go in there.
Now that is important. I see. It's about meeting people where they are, but also allowing them to be seen and heard. Yeah, so that's amazing.
Yes.
So what are some of
Yeah.
the
And
systemic
not and
issues? Oh, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I also say you mustn't enforce your views. Don't enforce your views on people.
Yeah,
Because sometimes we go in there, we want to tell people how they must feel, what they must do, how they must do it.
yeah,
You can't do that. You must walk the journey with him. And that
yeah.
is how we do the organizing.
Amazing, amazing. So what are some of the major systemic issues that communities face around land and housing and even basic services that you've encountered?
What the basic thing that people encounter is, to have a decent house. That is one of the challenges. Just to have access to adequate housing. Um, for people just to have that basic water and electricity and the how do you call it? I'm going to say bucket system because that is what
The
people are
sewerage,
currently getting.
the
But
sewerage.
yes, yeah, yeah. So the basic thing that people want is just a house to cover the head.
Mhm.
And at the moment, communities don't get that. Communities get these inferior RDP houses that's currently being built. 10 years down the line, you can see the houses falling apart.
Sure.
You need to be now also, you need to be responsible for that house. Take out your own insurance because if anything should happen, you're on your own.
Yeah.
So people are faced with that. And when you look at communities that we're currently working with, it's mostly unemployed and poor communities.
Yeah.
And what communities and what we currently see now, what is being offered to communities, it's the affordable social housing. And that don't fit everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody don't have the means to pay rent, maybe a contribution, but we are asking also what is really affordable for poor
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
because you don't just have the rent as the water, electricity, and when you live in the social housing, there's that extras that you need to pay. What about food? What about, there's so many things that goes hand in hand with, and the system is not working for our community. At the moment, the system is very oppressed with in our communities, because we can see that most of our people are living in informal settlement, backyards and that, because
Yeah.
you can't keep up with the rent, and they end up going back into the system. And we can see within Cape Town, the 600,000 people that is on the waiting list. And there's nothing really that is saying that we are doing something about the system that will, look out for everybody. It's not working like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know temporary housing is supposed to be just that. I mean, you think about the place like Blikkiesdorp, right, in Delft,
Yes,
and
yes,
yet it
yes.
is still there, and people who have started the fight for housing in that area is still
It's
in those
still there.
places.
It's still there. Yeah.
Exactly.
And on top of that also, they have started just putting the road out. The roads is there.
Hmm.
But now they are coming back to communities and telling them that it's not just the RDP houses. It's going to be some inclusionary, a three-step inclusionary housing development that's going to be there. So now communities are saying, so if it's going to be inclusionary of other communities who can afford to pay the rent, so how many of them are going to be included? And it's almost 20 years that
Hmm.
that people are
Exactly.
waiting for those houses. So
Exactly.
it's a system that is very unjust
Mm.
towards our poor communities, and we can see also how it affects communities, because it affects your health.
Yeah.
Most of these are women, and they are elderly now, and staying in these overcrowded spaces, it affects your family. Some families are divorced, mothers and
Mm.
fathers are divorced, separated, the
Yeah.
children is on drugs. So it's a
I was going to
cycle of
say
a lot of things that is happening.
exactly.
Yeah. And some of our kids are falling through the cracks, not going to school also. So it's a ripple effect within communities,
Absolutely.
and that is what we encounter. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all these intersectionalities and all these social determinants. And it's not just about the
Yes.
house, like you've said, it's about looking at
Yeah.
everything in this little ecosystem. Can you
Yeah.
explain what you meant by the three-step process? What is that? What is that going to involve?
So what they are saying there's going to be RDP houses,
Mhm.
there's going to be the low cost housing, and then there's the affordable that is like
Okay.
it's above that the limited
Mhm.
bracket. So it will be people, it's a three tier,
No.
people who's the RDP is people who get those houses for
Yeah.
free. And
Yeah.
then is the one at the lower bracket where government will subsidize.
Mhm.
And then it's the other one that there are people who's earning between 1.8 and 22,000. So those people will include it. So, it put people also in a vulnerable position, because you don't know now where do you really fit in and how many units is there going to be.
Yeah. And
And
how many more
yeah.
years are you going to wait? Yeah. Oh my.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, because we have people that is on the waiting list since 1990, and that is what we've seen in Menenberg.
Yeah.
Um, People that's on the waiting list until say between 1990 and 2006, they were supposed to be housed already. We
Yeah.
had a family who was 37 years, and we had to fight with this council to say that you can't overlook this person. She's
Yeah.
been on the waiting list for how long? So how do you not see this? And this woman is working on the projects with you guys.
Yeah.
So it becomes where people as corruption and all these things that's playing out within communities, where
Absolutely.
they just turning a blind eye to these things.
Yeah. So organizations like housing or movements such as Housing Assembly are there to look at those particular cases and then advocate for for
Yeah,
equity or for placement. Is that
yeah,
essentially of the work that you do
yeah.
as
That is what we do. So what we are saying also to comrades, when there's new developments, make sure that you are part of those developments.
well?
Go and check, go ask questions, ask people, where is this waiting, the list of people, the beneficiaries that you identify to be part of this development that is happening. There's meetings that people need to attend, and the do's and don'ts. Are
Mm,
they telling people in that? Because we also see people get houses, they don't even live in the houses.
yeah,
8 years down the lines, when they get the title deed, they sell it. But
yeah,
now, how do you monitor those things? So that's why we empower people to say that go to these developments, go ask questions. They need
yeah,
to put those names up. So, because we are saying they need to be transparent,
yes,
because they need to be accountable for people that they are placing there.
yeah.
So, yeah,
Awesome.
education is very important.
No, definitely. And I love the idea of transparency and being able to see who those people are, because that's often questions that
Yeah,
then why do you think
yeah.
housing is such a
But,
critical but overlooked
mm,
issue in South Africa?
um, when we look at why they overlooking this,
Mm,
it's because it's like people can do what they want in these projects, because there's nobody that is standing behind them with the whip. I think someone must stand behind them with a whip, because you need to see what is happening with these developments, what is happening in communities. Why is there not services given to these poor communities? You
mm,
know, it's a dark situation, because people are making money out of these things. When you see tenders is going out, it's all about what can they benefit and not about the community. And currently what we see, it's not about communities, because community participation is very little. They will
yeah,
say there's community participation, but if notices go out, it goes on the 11 hour, and now you need to rush and go and participate. And that is not participation
yeah,
when it happened within communities. It's like you are just getting there to rubber stamp what they are doing.
yeah, sure. I mean,
Uh,
unbelievable, really.
mm.
What do you think the role of women is within this movement, and how do you ensure that their leadership is visible and valued?
A woman plays a very important role in communities. When I look at women, and I can see in housing assembly, education, I believe education is important. And building the capacity of women, it's also important, because you see the growth in women. You see women, they mobilize, organize within communities.
Yeah.
We have now a situation also within our communities when we have workshops. Normally, I will hustle for something to eat, or I'll say, hey, come, we don't have something to eat.
Yeah.
But then our communities, our women are organizing themselves. They say, hey, come, don't worry, we are sorted.
Mm,
Hustling here, and they're on their own. So they are hustling and they are doing all these things. When meetings are happening, they are the ones who's organizing. So you can see the growth in women, and you can see also that, they don't step back. They
mm,
are challenging now counselors. We used to have men that is leading in community. In our organization, we are dominated by women, and I can see, I feel like a proud mother. I'm proud to see that our women are not quiet. Hey, they are challenging, even me. So you need to, it's important that we need to lead by example also,
yeah.
because when you don't lead by example, come, hey, they will hit you on the head.
Yeah.
But being a principal person, you need to do that, because when people see what you're doing, come, they will do exactly, also they will do it even better than what you are doing,
Yeah.
because they can see the need. And that is what we put into their heads also, comrades. What is important in your communities? How do you lead your communities? Because if you do 1, 2, 3, 4, that's against the grain of the organization. We can't have you there if you are a woman abuser or a man abuser. We can't have that, and we can't have you in positions. And we've taken some of the comrades out to say, listen, this is not on. We can't have you there as a leader and still continuing. So by having these frank conversations and, having these workshop continuously conversations, having with these leaders and community, I believe our woman is going to take it for.
Amazing.
We shouldn't
Amazing.
doubt our woman. Yeah.
So now, what keeps you motivated in the face of slow systems, broken promises, and burnout?
Oh, what keeps me going? I think what keeps me going is just the fact that small victories. It's not huge victories, but it's small, small steps. When we put someone back into a house that was locked, the gate, there was an iron gate there. We took it off. We took the bricks away. Putting people back into the house, going to the rent office, engaging with those management and saying, hey, this is not on. We have people that is waiting. Why are you closing these houses up? Why are these gangsters doing this? There's a problem in our communities. And, having all these things, it motivates me not to give up. It motivates me to think about how can I do things differently? What can we do tomorrow? What am I going to do tomorrow in that community? Who am I going to contact? If we talk about mobilizing, I'm not shy to ask. Even being part of this program of quotas women, I'm not shy. I will ask, I will say, hey, comrades, we need to do 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
And that is just my motivation, because you know what? I can see even in the organization, our comrades are doing exactly the same like I'm doing. I say, hey, comrade, what is happening here? I say, hey, come, we're watching you. So that motivates me, because I can see our organization won't go down, because we have a clear goal where we want to be, where we want to take the organization, because I believe there's communities that needs us, and we need strong leaders to take this thing forward. Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing.
So I'm not giving up. I'm not.
Yeah. If there was one policy or political will right now that you would like to shift, what would it be and why?
Oh, the housing policy that needs to change completely, because there should be a priority for our poor communities who's not able to afford. Those are the vulnerable ones, the ones that nobody's really taking care of. It's like, what I can see especially in the city of Cape Town, they are saying, no, the city works for all, but it's not working for all. And the housing policies needs to change, because we can't be a nation that 600,000 people is waiting on the waiting list. How many of those people are waiting over 30 years and 20 years? You can't wait that long. So these policies needs to change, and it needs to look at our vulnerable communities. How can they support them? But it shouldn't just be giving people a house. It should also be, our government needs to look at the social problems that we have, because giving me a house, don't put food on the table, don't pay for electricity and the water, because we still have this thing where people are getting their houses. Some of them end up just selling the house, because they can't put food on the table. They are hustling all the time, going back to the informal settlement, where communities' belongings are burning out because of the overcrowdedness. So we need to have a system, that needs to cater and look out for all these small things, but also have an eye on communities. How are they doing? What are the challenges? How can we support that? Because there's no support for communities. That's why our children are reeled into by these gangsters. They are giving them clothing and food, and that is their way of keeping them trapped. And we need to change that system. Yes, just heartbreaking when I think about these things, and I just just remind me, yesterday I was in Hillview. I'm just off the topic now.
No, that's fine.
And while we were there, we took some of the students so they can see what it's really like. And this woman just staying opposite this gangster also, and she couldn't even speak loud. She said, "No, I can't. These people are hearing in what I'm saying." The bullets, you can see the bullet holes going straight through a fridge. She said they are not even safe in this areas. Now you ask yourself, we have a government that's speaking about this nice city, but when we're looking at the conditions, the way our people are living in, it says a different story.
Yeah.
And nobody is looking back to say that, why don't we fix these things? Why should our people stay in occupation? Why can't you build houses instead of reblocking? Because that is what they are doing, reblocking a shack into another shack. So we are building a nation of shacks and not decent housing. And that is one of our slogans that we are saying. People need to live in decent housing, and decent housing should be for all.
No.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Yes.
sharing that. So, what is your hope for the next generation of housing activists or land activists? Because I think, based on what you just said, this is the perfect next question.
Oh, I think the next generation must continue in what we are doing. They should even doing it differently and be more innovative. They should take communities by the hand also, and and start building. And I think this is also one of my vision that I have, that we should build our own communities' houses. Our vision should be also where our youth must work with integrated communities, because we have political parties also that are splitting our communities with the colored and the black, and that is currently the thing that is playing out, where people are saying the coloreds don't benefit and the black. Hey, we shouldn't have those things, because at the end of the day, living in this community is a true reflection how we are living, and it shouldn't be on the race. So my vision for that and I would love to see that our next generation take this housing struggle to another level, because they need also to build that bridges with the different movements, because we can't fight in isolation.
Yeah.
We need to work in collaboration and take the movement forward, because you can't do it alone anymore. In isolation, it's not working. So, yeah, just take the initiative and use alternative materials instead of these zincs and brick and do alternative materials that can work for communities. When I look at the informal settlements, every year we have floods and fires.
Yeah.
And for 30 years, nothing has been done. No alternative materials. But yet there's sandbags that they can build houses if they don't want to build decent houses. There's sandbags that will stop the fire immediately. It won't spread to other areas. But anyway, they don't look at those alternative things, that can save lives and save your personal belongings, because you work over the years and you lost, everything is lost in fires and floods.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so you've spoken about collaboration and networking. So our next question is about your experience on the quote This Woman Plus Voices Fellowship. What has it meant for you thus far?
I think it's the personal growth, no? Hey, because I'm not afraid to share, and it's also a skill that I've learned. I could see the difference in me. I don't want to say, hey, I don't know if I want to say I'm transforming of what the way I can, but anyway, but I can see the difference, the knowledge that I've gained also by sharing my experiences and the way I come across to communities. And also what I've learned also, it's, listening. Oh, yeah, listening is a skill also, to hear what communities are saying. And also, communities also listen to what you are saying, because you don't run around the bush. You are, Sarah, because sometimes we have little time on point with the things that you want to say with community cause, because you can't take people's time for granted also.
Yeah.
So you need to be on point so people can know. Hulle moet aan jou lippe hang while you are telling the story also. Because telling a story, people must know, hey, I know what this woman was talking about. I got someone, I'm offside now.
Mm.
No?
No,
I
go for
got
it. Go
someone
for
in
it.
Kayalitza. This person said, hey, come, I know you. I say, hey, come, I don't know you. I would forget the name sometimes. He said, no, I know you. You were speaking there in town. And I know still what you said. Yeah, I forgot even what I said. I said, oh, I said, no, you speak there about Ramaphosa's house and what. I said, oh, okay. So people remember
The
what you
stories
say.
you've told, yeah.
And it's important also that you say these things that people can understand and what they are going through. Because
Yeah.
we can't talk about the middle class things. We need to speak about things that affects communities and how can we work it together, not me doing it for you. So yeah, I think this fellowship also shaped my different thinking and bringing things out in a different way. So yeah, it changed the whole perspective of me doing my things, and I think I inspire a lot of comrades also
Mhm.
when I speak about these
Okay.
things. I say, hey, come, I got you.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing, Kashifa. Thanks for sharing. Then, why do you believe it's
Good.
important that women organizers like yourself doing grassroots work should be quoted, sourced, and heard in the media?
Yeah. You know what? It's good. We need to be quoted, come, because that is my story. That is my story. And telling a story and saying something, it's something that I've experienced, I've done it, I've been there. So it's important for people to know that this is the person who said that. And you will be remembered. I can remember I said here in Pylands, we with this meeting also about this golf course. And then this woman said, no, we can't have this golf course because it's going to affect our driving in and the greenery. And so I said, okay, if that is what affects you, it's okay for the black woman to work in your kitchen, but it's not okay for her to stay next to you. Oh, that was such a sour story for her.
Mm.
And they got up, some of them got up and walked out. So it's important for us to, to remember, to be remembered by things that we are saying, because you can't tell me other stories that I don't know about, because you get comrades that wants to tell other people's stories. When I say something, it's something that I've experienced and I've been there. That's why I can say those things. And it's important. They must do that, come.
Mm. And I
Quote
think
our
it's
stories,
amazing.
quote those things.
I think it's amazing what you're saying now. Quote This Woman is about putting experts in touch with journalists. And I think what you have just made me think about is how do we think about an expert? Yeah. So an expert isn't only someone who's got degrees and papers and has
Mm,
researched this thing, but it's also someone with lived experience of that. So thank you for highlighting that. Because very often
yeah.
we would go and find someone in an office that had written a paper, and I'm not saying that that person isn't important, because they're coming with
Mm,
a research which you as the grassroots activist needs, but it's your voice that also
mm,
needs to shape the narrative and be called upon by the media
yeah.
to give insights on this,
Yeah.
because it's very real and practical insights, you know.
Yeah. Because sometimes they will call and say, hey, Kasi, is there anything happening? What is happening there? I say, oh, okay, no, nothing is happening. I say, because I know the story is going to come from somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So yeah, and you know what? Sometimes some of our comrades have so much experience in the field that we are doing, and sometimes you feel inferior because this person has got a degree and all these
yeah,
things, and that puts sometimes people off also because, hey, how can I be an expert? I'm not the one with the degree.
yeah.
But when you look back, I don't have even matric.
Mhm.
But you know what? it don't stop me from doing what I'm doing because I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's for communities. And I know I'm speaking from an informed platform where I've experienced these things. That's why I can say these things without fear or favor when people ask me, because I can say it again.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is it.
Yeah. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Kashiefa. So that was Kashiefa
Thanks.
Achmat reminding us that housing is more than shelter. It's about
Yeah.
safety, it's about dignity, and it's about the right to be seen. So if you felt
Yeah.
moved by Kashiefa's story and the work that she does, please share this episode, tag us, amplify the voices of women building movements around land and housing. And until next time, stay rooted, stay bold, and keep quoting Women Plus. Thanks, Kashiefa.
Thank you. Mandla.